Alright, sorry about the noob move. I guess there's only 10 minutes of recording time, so we're gonna have a two-parter here. Anywho's, and so it was interesting because I decided to do the life activation, the cord cutting. I met with Sarah, and it was what it was. It was interesting because the cord cutting was effective, no doubt about it. It's no secret I've learned these modalities now, and it's something I've been using for a while. And I've seen the same impact with other people. I mean, there's a really cool story where I saved someone's marriage because she had so many negative attachments and like so much hurt over the years. And when you get this cutting, it kind of resets you back to zero. And she wanted to be with this guy, and she wanted to make it work, but her emotions were blocking her. Every time that something would come up, it would just be like all this past was like almost speaking for her, which is a very weird thing that we do as humans. But it was cool because I'm like, hey, you're reset to zero now. You are empowered to go forward, and you can make this relationship what you want. If you go in there and give him a big hug, then you can start off on a positive connection, and you can build that. If you go in there and saying, hey, he left the toilet seat up again, and come at from that, you're going to start creating all those negative attachments. And it was really cool because over time she sent me a text message like, oh, hey, we did this and we did this together. I never thought it was possible. And I want to take credit for that because it was all her work. And that's what I love about what we do is we're healers, but all we do is we remove the blockages so you can move forward. It's all you and your choice. I just love that. I just love that mentality so much, what we do. So anywho's, and yes, cord cutting worked like a freaking charm. Again, I'm very empathic. I didn't have the little twitches. I didn't feel anything. But it was cool because when I went to work the next day, same thing. She would do the behaviors that would piss me off at work. I didn't get angry. It was weird. It's like, I'm like, this to me is bullshit. I think it's bullshit, and I don't want this to continue and all this stuff. But I didn't have that feeling like, man, I really need to punch something, or if I smoked, like, go out and have a cigarette. It's not this normal reaction. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Life activation is a different story. Again, very sensitive. Empathically to energy, what's going on. I didn't feel much. I had a couple of leg spasms. I felt the energy coming in. I'm like, it could have been an itch, right? Try to remain skeptical because I'm meeting someone for the first time who has a modality I've never heard of and had no interest in it. But it was interesting because we do a codon reading at the end. Basically, we go into. I'm gonna have a video more up about like the more in depth of the rhyme and reason and what it is. So watch that whenever it pops up. And it was cool because she pulled some information. It's basically, in a nutshell, your spiritual lineage of who you are. You have your normal DNA, which says, I'm going to be 6'2", eventually balding, beard color, hair color, eye color. And then you have your spiritual DNA, which is more about your life purpose. Very much, I'm here to be a mechanic. I'm here to tinker with my hands. Here to itch my nose. And it unlocks that, and as part of that, it does a reading. So it's weird in the sense that it goes into something so deep. So again, it's an hour-long session. You're sitting, standing, balancing energetic lines, cleaning up the aura. I'm just like, sit, stand. It smells nice in there. Got candles. Kind of a regal event. I liked it. Codon reading came. Based off the time of my life and the uncertainties, she just give the generic, everything's gonna be all right. I'm like, okay, well, good job. You don't have to even claim to be a psychic to say something like that, right? I'm just like, I'm not sold on this, right? Any of this. Second thing, she said, I don't want to alarm you, but those things you saw as a child were real. She described them. Those things I saw as a child were hands climbing my window, dark forms, my bed sheets being ripped out or ripped off my sheet, generally terrorizing things. So she said these things were real, kind of described them, and said, don't worry, they can no longer hurt you. At that point, I'm like, okay, this is something that only my mom knew, and she attributed to nightmares. I talked to her about it. She remembers it. And I'm like, I thought you were just an imaginative kid. And here we go. Well, I guess there's something to it. Awkward. Interesting thing was the third thing she said. She started crying. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing was awkward. This thing's even more awkward because I had this lady I just met crying. And she said in one sentence who I felt like I was on the deepest level. She said, I see a man, and she described that man. And I started crying. Because if I thought of the perfect me, of who I am on the truest level with no negativity and even like what can I achieve, it was just interesting because she's in one sentence she said that of who I was, and it was like, okay, there's something to this life activation. I don't necessarily felt anything with all the energy work done, but there's something to it. And it was wild because she's like, there's this thing called Empower Thyself coming up. I think it's you. And I'm like, fuck yeah, it is. Didn't say anything about it, the class or anything. She just said, this is for you. And it was interesting because I feel like at the time it was like $800, $900, you know, a good chunk of change for a 2-day class. And not knowing anything about it. And I'm like, well, I should do this. I don't know why. It's not an issue. When I decided to do it, the universe kind of hooked me up, and I got my severance package from GameStop came through, and I had the financial abundance to do it. And I went for it. And I went into it thinking, prove it again, right? I'm this late 20s young fellow full of pep. This is back in 2012, 2013, sorry, 2013. Early 2013 when this happened. And again, I'm this young fellow full of pep, and I'm like, okay, some weird shit's happened. I believe in cults and the idea that they, over the years, have understood human psychology. They understand, you know, ways to manipulate based off of that. And so I'm going into this like, okay, this is what I'm here to do. You friggin' prove it. It was weird because going into that class, as I drove there, my clutch cable snapped. And I didn't even have an example around here. I was hoping to bring one, but clutch cable is about yay thick. Well, about that thick. It's steel, and it's woven steel, so it's over. Not something that just snaps. And I'm not talking like it frayed. It just like it was cut, snaps. You know, mechanics. So it was something I was able to rectify quite quickly the next day, but it prevented me from going to class. And the interesting thing was, it was like something was preventing me from going to this. It was very much resistance. I'll call Sarah. She sends her sister to come and get me. I'm in huge negative ego. Like I feel like a complete just. So like I'm a goth kid, so I wear like the big pants and you know, black hair. I had longer hair at the time. So this was back before kind of like the world was more acceptable. So here I'm coming in late. I'm wearing my goth clothes. Everyone's staring at me. It's a class like 30 people. It's a huge class. And I'm just like so embarrassed. And I go in there and I sit down. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But I made it. Thank God. And it was so funny because I took the stance of like, you know, again, prove it. So there's some rituals that you get handed down and some knowledge and theory. And let me go on the record, the money I paid to get the knowledge part of it blew my mind. Like the whole new concepts and perspective world was totally worth it for me. But it was interesting because I kind of tested the universe about this. And when we got a ritual, it was like, you know, you say I am, state your name. I was like, I am, and I said state your name, and I'm sitting there in the class just giggling to myself, being a complete dumbass. looking back at it now, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? But it was interesting because uh, just be me, you know? It's just me. I question it. I don't believe it. Um, it's 10 minutes, so this might shut off. So it might have to be a three-part trilogy. But I'm just going to continue ranting on, and I'll figure it out later in post. But that was how I took it. You know, day two, same thing. You know, I was very cautious. I didn't, you know, there's like little chocolates and things, and like water to drink. I went as far as thinking, I'm like, okay, if this is a cult, there might have something, some sort of psychedelic in the water, or just something there to mess with you mentally, to make you believe this is more than, not, it's not true, but to make you believe it's true. This culminated in the second day and had my aha experience, the grand finale you've all been waiting for. So yeah, it was cool. We did sanctuary meditation, which is you meditate and you go to your sanctuary. You meet your higher self and you kind of talk and say, hey, what's going on in my life? I need guidance. Good modality. So sitting there, close your eyes, start to meditate, right? It's what we were instructed to do. And I'm used to meditating, so I'm kind of in my zone, my little jive. And she's like, start chi breathing, you know, which is into the nose, out to the mouth. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, cool, I'll try this. And never chi breathe. So you through your mouth. And it was hilarious because everyone in the class was new to it too, and a lot of people were overdoing it. So it sounded like I was this room full of Darth Vader, you know. Really wacky experience, and I'm like, I can't meditate with like 20 Darth Vaders in their room. And she's starting to guide you through it, you know, okay, you go up here and you open this door and you let your higher self in and everything, and start talking with him. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm still forcing this mental image, so to speak, in my head and going through these steps. And I get my higher self in, start talking to him, and he stares at me. I'm like, it's like, ask her, you know, I hear Sarah saying, ask yourself a question about some insights or blah blah blah, you know. And I'm like, okay, question, and she stares at me. I'm like, okay. Another question, hello, start poking it, just like what the fuck? Alright, like, alright, go. Hands up, I'm done. This is, yeah, at this point, I've had it. This isn't real. YOLO. You know, well, that was an alarm back then, but you know, this is very much like I don't believe it. I kind of give up on this. And giving up, I'm kind of in my sanctuary. I'm walking away from my higher self. Have you ever seen a movie where someone gets electrocuted and their body's like spasming around and everything? I was sitting there, you know, meditative space, eyes closed, and I felt this thing hit my third eye, lightning bolt, and I feel like my body is having like spasms and just like I'm having a seizure and all this stuff. And I realize I'm like, I'm sitting here in this meditative space. I'm not flailing my arms, but that's what it felt like. And I was like, what the fuck after that? And I finally kind of come back to the room in a sense, and I hear Sarah saying, okay, cool, I want you to start opening your eyes, start coming back to the room. I'm like, I'm not ready to do this. And I just forced my eyes open, and it was the weirdest experience, one of the weirdest experiences of my life, is I was looking at myself, not through my eyes, but like from the room above, down, and I could see myself, and I felt like I was falling, and all of a sudden, I fell into my body. And I sat there, and it was quiet, and all I could say is I had an epiphany. I don't know what the fuck an epiphany is, but I just had one. And it was quiet. You know, she prepares the room. You get initiation. You do become part of the Brotherhood and Sister of Light, which, again, I'll do a video and I'll get more into the nitty-gritty and what that means. But for now, it's an initiation. And we went into a side room to kind of like reflect. And it was 30 people, so it took a while to get to me. And I just sat there. I couldn't talk. I couldn't think. I've never been so quiet. It was weird. And over in my head, it was, you just had an epiphany. You just had an epiphany. Don't know what that epiphany was, but I had an epiphany. And time went on, the mind started talking again, and before I went in to get my initiation, I was like, did I eat anything? No. Did I drink any water? I had a glass of water. Didn't taste funny. I'm going to look into it afterwards. If they were to drug you with water, what would it taste like? Making these mental notes. She burnt incense, burnt candles, Can you make incense out of LSD and burn it and everyone in the room gets high? That's my train of thought the entire time. Went in to get my initiation. And, you kneel down and the room felt weird. I felt like I was being crushed by the energy. I felt squeezed. And she did a little song and dance of the initiation. I had another epiphany, right? I never had one in my life. Now I had two within a half-hour span. Kind of cool. Don't really know what was going on. Shock. And I should have prefaced this by the reason why I got into tarot and meditation when I was 16 was I had this nagging voice that said, you need to find something. When I started listening to Darkness Radio, they're like, you need to find something even harder. This will help you. So imagine just the idea of 10 years of this nagging feeling, like the most strongest pull you've ever had in your life, saying you need to find something, and you're like, okay, what? And the response was, you need to find something. Got in my car, started driving home, and I cried for the whole half-hour drive. And it was happiness. I've never cried because I've been happy in my life, but I cried because I knew I finally freaking found what I was looking for these 10 years. It's this huge closure. It was fucking immense. Like, holy shit, dude. I'm here. I'm supposed to do something, and I found what I'm supposed to do. Don't know what it is quite yet, but I'm doing it. You know, it's so joyous. Like, again, I used to associate